To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. 6. To give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. 10. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired Krishna Prema. So once again, I thank everyone for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Let us move on to the next part of the session, that is Srimad Bhagavatam class. May I know who are joining the call today?
हरे कृष्ण भगवती वसुधा माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम शिला प्रभुपाद की जय गुरु महाराज की जय प्रीतिदासी फ्रॉम शार्लोट हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna, Priti Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas Police Station.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharika Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the assembled devotees. This is Kiran Goyal from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Kiran Goyal Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, all Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaji's my humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devidasi from Raleigh.
Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Jai Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. This is Shyama Gauri Devidasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shama Gauri Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Karuna Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम all glories to Prabhupada all glories to Guru Maharaj all glories to assembled devotees. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna, Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashamati Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavат Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Sushmita from Canada.
Hare Krishna, Susmita Mataji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, is there anyone who would like to introduce in the call today? Okay. Welcome all of you once again for this Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are really fortunate to have Her Grace Krishna Rupa Devi Dasi to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam 6.17.22 to 23. Before I hand over the call to Mataji, I would like to hand over the call to Tiffany Mataji for the brief introduction on Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories, all glories, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This morning, we are so fortunate to have with us Her Grace Krishna Rupa Mataji. Mataji joined ISKCON in 1998 and was initiated by His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj in 1999 at the ISKCON Pune temple. Krishna Rupa Mataji is educated in software engineering and earned an MBA from Amity University, a BEd from Mumbai University, and a Microsoft certified system engineer, Cisco certified network professional, and Java certified programmer. She has over 10 years experience in the IT industry and worked for companies like HP, Dell, and Wipro. Mataji gives motivational talks on stress management, art of positive thinking, time management, personality development, especially for children in schools, in youth, and corporates. Over the years, she has been invited to deliver several such seminars to students in various premier institutes, schools, and colleges in India. She guides many young girls and women in leading meaningful lives of peace and happiness. Krishna Rupa Mataji has conducted seminars on stress management, time management, art of positive thinking in companies like Dell, Wipro, Sony, Chanhel, and in New Delhi. She currently teaches Bhakti Shastri courses, IDC classes, Srimad Bhagavatam study circles, and short seminars online, and Sunday Kids School at her home. So we're so very blessed to have her with us today to take her association.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for that very wonderful brief introduction on Krishna Rupa Mataji. So, looks like yes, Mataji is there. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept all of our humble obeisances. Thank you so much Mataji for giving your valuable time and association in this Bhakti Sangha conference call. We are really fortunate to have you on this call today. Thank you Mataji.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Mataji. It's my pleasure that I'll be able to serve the Vaishnavas in some way or the other.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, we just did with your introduction. You can take over the call from now on. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So we'll just quickly start with Mangala Charan. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakham Vitamsha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Dear devotees, welcome for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time for hearing Hari Katha. And this shows your sincerity that every morning you all assemble to hear the glories of the Supreme Lord via the Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is an hat-trick incarnation. Srimad Bhagavatam, in one of the classes, what I have heard is that Srimad Bhagavatam is an hat-trick incarnation. Why? Because Srimad Bhagavatam itself is an incarnation of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam describes about the incarnations of Krishna like Matsya Avatar, Kurma Avatar. And Srimad Bhagavatam is written and compiled by an incarnation of Krishna. So it is an hat-trick incarnation. So thank you so much for joining in this class. So I was asked to speak on the 22nd shloka. Let me just share the screen with you all. Yeah. So 22nd and 23rd. So I'll read the 22nd shloka and the translation, and then we'll move, because 22nd does not have a purport. Na tasya kaschit daita pratipo na gyati bandhur paro na cha swa samasya sarva niranjasya sukhena raga puta eva roshah. They say that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally disposed towards all living entities. Therefore, no one is very dear to him, and no one is great enemy for him. No one is his friend, and no one is his relative. Being unattached to the material world, he has no affection for so-called happiness or hatred, for so-called distress. The two terms happiness and distress are relative. Since the Lord is always for him, there is no question of distress. We'll go to the next. So if somebody would like to repeat after me, you're free to repeat. Tathapi tat shakti visarga esham.
Tathapi tat shakti visarga esham.
Aya cha mrityu janma.
Bandhaya mokshaya cha mrityu janma.
Shariranam samsritya avakalpate.
Shariranam samshritaye vakalpate.
Tathapi tat shakti visarga esham.
Tatapi tat shakti visarga esham.
Sukhaya dukkhaya hitaya.
Sukhaya dukkhaya hitaya.
Bandhaya mokshaya cha mrityu janma.
Bandhaya mokshaya cha mrityu janmo.
Sharirana samsritya avakalpate.
Shariranam samsritaya vakalpate.
Tathapi tat shakti visarga esham.
Tatapi tat shakti visarga esham.
Sukhaya dukkhaya hitaya.
Sukhaya dukkhaya hitaya.
Bandhaya mokshaya cha mrityu janmo.
Bandhaya mokshaya cha mrityu janmo.
Shariranam samsritya avakalpate.
Shariranam samsritte avakalpate.
Tathapi, still. Tat Shakti of the Lord's energy. If you all want to repeat after me, you all are free to repeat.
Tatapi, still tat shakti of the Lord's energy.
Visarga, the creation.
Visargaha, the creation.
Esham, of these conditioned souls.
Esham, of these conditioned souls.
Sukhaya, for the happiness.
Sukhaya, for the happiness.
Dukhaya, for the distress.
Dukkhaya, for the distress.
Hitaya, hitaya, for the profit and loss.
Hita ahitaya, for the profit and loss.
Bandhaya, for the bondage.
Bandhaya, for the bondage.
Mokshaya, for the liberation.
Mokshaya, for the liberation.
Cha, also.
Cha, also.
Mrityu, of death.
Mrityu, of death.
Janmano, of and birth.
Janmano, and birth.
Shariranam, of all those who accept material bodies.
Shariranam, of all those who accept material bodies.
Samsrite, for the repetition.
Samsrite, for the repetition.
Avakalpate, acts.
Avakalpate, acts.
So you all can repeat after me. Although the Supreme Lord is unattached,
although the Supreme Lord is unattached
for happiness and distress,
to our happiness and distress,
according to karma, and although
according to karma, and although
no one is his enemy or favorite,
no one is his enemy or favorite,
he creates pious and impious activities.
He creates pious and impious activities
through the agency
of
his material potency.
Of his material potency.
Thus, for the continuation
of
the materialistic way of life, he creates happiness and distress.
He creates happiness and distress.
Good fortune and bad.
Good fortune and bad.
Bondage and liberation.
Bondage and liberation.
Birth and death.
Birth and death.
Thank you, dear devotees. Thank you for cooperating. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate doer of everything in his original transcendental existence, he is not responsible for the happiness and distress or bondage and liberation of the conditioned souls. These are due to the results of fruitive activities of the living entities within this material world. By the order of a judge, one person is released from jail and another is imprisoned. But the judge is not responsible for the distress and happiness of these different people is due to their own activities. Although the government is ultimately the supreme authority, the justice is administered by the departments of the government, and the government is not responsible for the individual judgments. Therefore, the government is equal to all citizens. Similarly, the Lord is neutral to everyone. But for the maintenance of law and order, his supreme government has various departments which control the activities of the living entities. Another example given in this regard is that lilies open or close because of the sunshine, and thus the bumblebees enjoy or suffer. But the sunshine and the sun globe are not responsible for the happiness and distress of the bumblebees. So this is a very wonderful, purport, and I had been given to actually speak on this shloka. So previously also I have spoken on a couple of shlokas before also. So over here, if you see where Mother Parvati has cursed Chitraketu in the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and the 15th shlokas. And then Chitraketu, very humbly speaks to Mother Parvati, and he descended from his plane, bowed down to Mother Parvati with great humility, and he pleased her completely. He said that I accept your curse because happiness and distress are given by the demigods as a result of my past misdeeds. And one who is deluded by ignorance, the living entity is wandering into this forest of material world. He enjoys happiness, he enjoys distress. And then he continues that no one is the cause of happiness, distress in this material world. We say that, okay, he or she is the cause of my distress, but no one. And the living entity thinks that others are the cause of my happiness or distress. So this material world, the analogy is given, it's like a consistent flow of river. And what is a curse and what is a boon, or what is heaven, what is hell? They are just dualities and have no eternal effect. And the Lord is not unaffected by this, and he's creating the living entities in knowledge that they get liberated, whereas those who are not in knowledge or those who are in ignorance, then they will be binded in different conditions in this material world. And in the 22nd shloka, he's saying that though the Lord is equally disposed to all the living entities, he's beyond dualities of this material world. We'll just come to what is dualities of this material world very soon. And for the Lord, there is no happiness or distress because the Lord is aloof from this material world. And further in this 23rd shloka, he's saying that the Lord is neutral. And that is why Lord creates dualities, and dualities means happiness, distress, bondage, and liberation for the continuation of materialistic way of life, so that this material world continues. Otherwise, if people wouldn't have this duality, then the material world wouldn't continue. So just for the continuation of this material world, the Supreme Lord creates this duality. So if you see in this shloka, the 22nd shloka, where the Lord favors some jivas and hates other jivas, because he binds up some, liberates others, and he gives others happiness. So that is not so, because he does not have some favorites or enemies. He is equal to all. And because he regards all equally at times, and because he is not affected by the Maya Shakti, that is Niranjanasya, he has no attachment to the material happiness. Then what to speak of hatred for anything opposing this material happiness? So in the Bhagavad Gita also, he says that Indriyasya Indyarthe Raga Dvesha Vyavasithau Tayora Visham Agachatau Hi Asya Paripantitano. This is Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 34th. So he's saying that attachment and repulsion, these are very firmly fixed in the sense objects. And that is why a person should not come under this control of attachment and repulsion. Why? Because attachment and repulsion, these are the two greatest obstacles in the path of, these are the two greatest paths in the way of going back home, back to Godhead. So when I actually speak about this, because these are the principles, to regulate attachment and, aversion, they are pertaining to sense objects. And if somebody is coming under this, then it is a big stumbling block to his self-realization or going back home, back to Godhead. So that is why Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says that these are the two stumbling blocks, that is attachment and aversion also. And then he's saying that, he says that Tathapi Tat Shakti Visarga Esham. This transformation of the Maya Shakti is only creating happiness and distress. Somebody might wonder that who is creating this happiness and distress? So you have you have two types of Shaktis. You have the Maya Shakti and you have the Chit Shakti. So the Maya Shakti is creating the happiness, distress, good fortune, bad fortune, liberation, bondage. So this is the work of the Maya Shakti. But if the Lord, somebody might question that if the Lord is equal, well, then why does he make one person happy and cause grief to another? Even though he is equal in all circumstances, but by the transformation of this Maya Shakti, the sequence of, this karmas actually begins from, piety and sin. It creates happiness and distress. So when you do good karmas, then you are happy. You do bad karmas, then you are in distress. So even though the Lord creates happiness and distress, and since the Maya Shakti belongs to the Supreme Lord, and in that sense, he shows inequality. He does not create happiness and distress, since Maya is not his Swarupa Shakti. The Swarupa Shakti is Yoga Maya, and thus the Lord is actually equal to all. So even the universe of Maya is the form of the Lord, because it does not arise from his Swarupa. So it is different from him. So he's giving the example that the sun appears to be unequal because he gives, sometimes sorrow to the owl, because the owl sleeps at night, and when the sun rises, the owl has to get up. And then the night lotus by its rays and gives happiness to the Chakrava bird or the Chataka bird, and the day lotus. So, for no one says the sun is, partial. The sun is actually equal to all. So that's how. So this word that is there, that is I would like to stress, because every time I bring a theme for those the shlokas. So the theme for today's shloka is actually duality. So duality means you cannot understand one thing without understanding the other. Had there not been, night, we wouldn't understand the day. So Srila Prabhupada says, this is actually the definition given by Srila Prabhupada, that duality means that you cannot understand one thing without understanding the other. Like light, if you have the conception of light without the conception of darkness. So this is called duality. So unless we have experienced bad, we cannot understand the good. Or unless there is a son, then there is no meaning for the father. So unless there is the wife, there is no meaning to the husband. This is actually duality. Srila Prabhupada says that. So this world is full of duality. So what Krishna is suggesting in the Bhagavad Gita is that we have to rise above this dual world and enter into the absolute world, where there will be only happiness. That's it. There will be no distress at all. So the beginning of transcendental life is actually Krishna will teach how to, the principles of yoga. So duality means, if you say, then, Prabhupada says in one of his lectures, he says that duality means God is different from me and he is the supreme. I am subordinate. He is great. I am small. He is infinite. And I'm infinitesimal. And this is the relationship. So because we are infinitesimal, we should concentrate our mind to the infinite supreme self. So then he should live alone. Alone means alone means not to live with persons who are not Krishna conscious or God conscious. So that is alone. So he should live alone in a secluded place. Secluded place, in the forest, it is a very secluded place. But in this age, it is very difficult. Srila Prabhupada says that in this age, it is very difficult to live in the jungle. So we should find out a God-conscious place where we can live in the association of devotees, like how the Bhakti Sangha Japa group, we are currently, in a God-conscious place, but we are with the devotees also, but we are like aloof, or we are secluded from the material world. So duality also means that whether I shall become Krishna conscious, or this conscious, that is material consciousness, I will, should I become a devotee? Should I not become a devotee? Should I be God conscious? Should I be Krishna conscious? Or should I be, in a material conscious? So that is duality also, whether this or whether that. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Vyavasaitmika buddhir ekehe kuru nandana. One who is firmly fixed. One who is firmly fixed, that is Krishna Bhakti. Kevala Krishna Bhakti. If I become Krishna conscious, then there will be perfection everywhere. And this conviction a person should have, and that is called, that is there, that time he'll be a non-dual person, or he'll be in a non-dual. So whether I shall do it or not do it, I must do it. That is where te dvanda moha. Dvanda is there, and moha, and illusion is also there. So, and except Krishna consciousness, everything is moha or illusion. Except Krishna conscious, Srila Prabhupada says that everything is illusion. So duality means that there is an intermixture of the modes of material nature also, where Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. One can become above this Nistraigunya. Trai means three. Traigunya, three gunas, So, and he can rise above these three modes simply by unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So, duality, when I say, is that whether I shall stick to this process of Krishna conscious or not. Many times we're into dual. There are so many people, because of this duality, they have left Krishna consciousness. Why? Because they were completely into a confusion whether I should follow, not follow. They were not in the right association. There are many other factors. So to worship Krishna in a very steadfast manner means he's liberated from this delusion. And that is called liberation or mukti. So one who has got some doubt that why shall I worship Krishna? This means that he's still in delusion and he does not have enough faith. His faith is not enoughly nourished. Even a slight doubt, there is a slight tinge, which means that he is in dvanda moha nirmukta, duality. And whether I should, follow the process, I should not follow the process, that is duality. And somebody who is actually, free from his sinful reactions, then he does not have duality. He has firm faith. Yes, Krishna, I will worship you. By no means I'll worship you. So, you have this happiness, distress, pleasure, pain, summer, winter, night, day, etc. All these dualities exist in space. So, and these dualities are inseparable part of, a person's life experiences. So, the most deluding duality, Srila Prabhupada, in one of his purports, he says that is of birth and death. And the arena of the life exists between two ends, that is birth and death. And from the very moment somebody is born, for him, death is inevitable. And again comes as a subsequent birth. So our natural intellect believes that the world pleasures will give us happiness and fulfillment. Therefore, in the material consciousness, while we desire some favorable ones, there is the unpleasant experiences also, though there is attraction and aversion, and there is an inherent duality also as there. So they develop due to our ignorance. So our intellect does not really realize that, okay, material pleasures are there, situations are there, increase of a material illusion is there, and it makes us believe that this pain is detrimental to us. And so many advertisements have potentials of dispelling this material illusion from our mind and elevate our soul. So our ignorance is the root cause to these delusions. A spiritually elevated person, he will accept these dualities as inseparable. Inseparable in sense, he is understanding is the aspect of God's creation, and he rises above likes and dislikes, attraction, aversion. So Krishna says that you tolerate. In the Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter, 14th shloka, he says that matra sparshastu kontena shitosana sukha dukhada agami payo nitya tam tatiksho bharata. He says that tolerance means to call off our war with reality. So tolerance, sometimes it will be equated with weakness and passivity, but it is actually the basis for our strength and dynamism. So tolerance essentially means that when we are faced with unpleasant situations, we don't let our energy be wasted in denial and resentment. So that is actually tolerance. I'm sorry, I beg your pardon, sorry. So fighting for this reality of problem with, this denial and resentment is always a little lost cause. So Bhagavad Gita is actually requesting or is urging to tolerate these dualities of pleasure, pain, and just as we tolerate even heat, cold, knowing that, okay, these are just very temporary. So if you see that Gita is actually making tolerating reality easier by introducing us to the two levels of reality. material and spiritual. So by its delineation of it gives us, the access to a higher spiritual reality wherein we can face peace, power, pleasure, and by meditating on our spiritual identity and by connecting with the supreme, supreme reality, that is Krishna. So the more we place our consciousness in spiritual reality, the more we can face the material reality very tolerantly and effectively. The more we are in the association of devotees, the more we read the Shastras, the more we chant, the more we do deity worship, the more we serve the Vaishnavas, we'll come out of this duality. We'll be able to face this material reality, and we will be able to tolerate also. And if you see in the very next shloka, he speaks about the fruit of this tolerance. He says that yam hi na vyatatanti ete purusham purushasabha samadukha sukham dhiram so amritavya kalpate. So he says that he says that the person who is not disturbed by happiness or distress, and he's steady in both happiness and distress or in any duality, then he is eligible for liberation. Such a person, he's actually giving the fruit of this tolerance, that such a person. So he's saying that yam hi na vyatatanti ete. So one who is not bewildered by such things, na vyatayantate purusham, that Purusha is the best of Purushas. And so what about such a person? Samadukha sukham dhiram. Such a person is same in happiness and distress. So such a person is so amritavya kalpate. Such a person will attain eternal happiness. Amritatavya kalpate. So the fruit of spiritual life is actually, talked about, and the fruit of spiritual life will be centered on how we tolerate. It is just knowing what we have to put in first. Tolerance. So the opposite of tolerance is intolerance, right? So we should know what to put first. When we are actually going on the road, we already, decide, okay, which road to take, not based on, some road just appears good or some appears best, but we actually choose that road, or we decide the road based on our destination or where that particular road will take us to. So similarly, we also don't decide our life priority based on, just appearances or the first look or the hairstyle or, anything. So Krishna is saying that all these appearances are not the way people look or appear. Ultimately, we are all our souls. And Krishna is talking something much more deeper. He's saying the way things will, seem to us very in the first way, may not be, the best indicators of what we actually are. So Krishna is telling we should not be distracted by these temporary changes in this world. Happiness, distress, and we should just tolerate it and let it go away. And one who is not bewildered, that person, or most of the person, what happens to that person? So he will be equipoised in happiness and distress. And then such person will be fit for his eternal existence into the spiritual world. So, of course, the fruit of liberation, is triggered by tolerance over here. So one will achieve amritavya kalpate, liberation, one who is able to tolerate that momentarily happiness and distress in life. So when we are not distracted by any petty things, we're able to more focus on the bigger things. So if you see, the easier way to transcend these dualities, of course, tolerance is one, but Krishna again in the Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter, the 7th shloka, he says that Jitatmana prasannatma paratmatma samatita shitosana sukha dukkheshu tatha mana apamana nayoha. He says that, and the the subtlest duality is actually man apman, honor and dishonor. One one becomes elated in dishonor, or one becomes broken and broken hearted in dishonor. Such dualities are very difficult to overcome, and we should question ourselves that do I give honor, or do I strive others should give me honor, or do I wish to serve others or want others to serve me, and do I only care for myself, or I selfishly want others to care for me, or do I feel glad upon seeing others' advancement, or I feel envious of others' advancement? So do I depend on Hari Guru Vaishnavas for decisions, or do I just make decisions on my own capriciously? Or sometimes we may just take an easy path, or a deviant path. So we should always take the shelter of the Hari Guru Vaishnavas, and we should overcome our internal struggles. So an opposite script has to be adopted, that others are much better than me. I am not better than others. And this is actually a Vaishnava attitude. So we call it actually devotee with heart. So what is the acronym of heart? HEART. H means humility. E means you encourage devotees, you appreciate devotees. A means R means you respect devotees. T means you tolerate. So when you do this gradually, we will be able to transcend these dualities over a period of time. So one who has conquered his mind, and the one who is not having any duality, he's attained tranquility. So happiness, distress, for him everything is the same. And that's what
Can
Krishna...
you please repeat, Mataji? Can you please repeat H for heart?
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. H for humility.
Humility.
E for encouragement.
Yeah.
A for appreciate.
Okay.
R for respect.
Okay.
T for tolerant.
Superb. So nice, Mataji.
Thank you. So
all hearts should be like this.
So I have taken this from His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu's classes, because I generally write down his classes. So I've made wise, classes of his. So, so then those who are, so for example, those who are not distracted, will attain liberation. But those who are distracted and they have lost track, like for example, who lost track in the, in the past, Bharat Maharaj lost track because he did social service to that deer, or about to lose track. So Dhruv Maharaj was about to lose track, but immediately he got Narad Muni and he went on back. So we should also see that we should not be distracted by the so-called dualities in life. Or for example, somebody is going to the college for studying. Okay, his main aim is he's going in a medical college. He wants to become a doctor. But all of a sudden he sees some boys or girls playing football and he gets distracted and he moves away from that particular track of becoming a doctor. So we need to check ourselves time and again. And how can we, check ourselves time and again? Only by staying in the association of like-minded devotees, where they'll be able to, push us, or, can give us a material improvement program. So because we have a material improvement program, but the devotees will push us to a spiritual improvement program. So even if the things don't happen, if they don't happen as the world is actually changing, so the world beyond this, world of change is actually Krishna, and he's unchangeable. So unchanging truths are the only constant source of meditation for the devotees. So that is why Krishna is saying transcend dualities by absorption in in a reality higher than duality. So so this world is inevitable and a place of duality, something that we can't avoid. Just as a boat can't avoid being moved up and down the waves, but we can avoid being being affected by that duality. If we let ourselves stay in that, fixed in a higher reality, then that duality and not being affected, of course, doesn't mean that we neglect that duality, but that we don't get sucked in by it. So, for example, a vehicle going on the road is affected by the undulations of the Earth's surface, but a plane flying above the Earth is not affected. The difference is not that the undulations don't exist or they can be neglected, but they don't create the same kind of problems for both. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the 5th chapter, what is that shloka? 20th shloka. Na prarisheta priyam prapyam, na dvijet prapyam cha priyama, stira buddhi asamuddho, brahmavid brahmani stitah. He says that that person who does not feel happy upon achieving something pleasant, or he does not lament upon gaining something that is unpleasant, and who is a very self-intelligent person. So a self-intelligent person is sthira buddhi. Okay, so he says that, and who is unbewildered, asammudha, and who knows the science of God, that is, he's called a Brahmavid, who's perfectly knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's already situated in trance. Brahmani stitaha. He's already situated in trance. So, so this Bhagavad Gita, it is indicating, this shloka is indicating that staying fixed in pleasures and pains will be characterized by how much we are situated in spiritual reality. So Gita is actually unfolding that spiritual reality in its highest manifestation, where Krishna is to be revealed. So when we learn to love Krishna, then that higher fulfillment, or this higher spiritual fulfillment that comes by that inner connection with him, it raises us far above the effects of a much smaller pleasure and pain, that is caused by some worldly ups and downs. So when we are connected to the higher realm, then anything of this material world does not affect us. So if we are rightly situated in Krishna consciousness, so we know that, okay, if somebody is just, giving us some, allegations, or somebody is just talking, he's not harming my body. Ultimately, I'm the soul. So of course, our situation isn't entirely like that of a plane which is high above the ground, because no matter how devotionally advanced we become, we still have to stay in our material bodies, and that still we have material needs also. But the more we realize our spiritual identity as a soul, the more we see life in its like broader term and its bigness, then the less we are affected by these, life's material side. So the key is actually to transcend this duality. So if you see, when when you have this, so when you have emotions, okay, you are happy, you cry, but when you spiritualize these emotions, these spiritualization of emotions, they rise us from duality to equanimity and to ecstasy. So where Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atmana Sochiti Na Kanchati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhakti Labhate Param. So he's saying that anybody who is transcendently situated, and who has realized the Supreme Brahman, then he never, he does not desire anything. He does not have anything for lamentation. He's, equally disposed in happiness and distress. And in that state only, he will attain pure devotional service to me. So again and again, if you see, the Bhagavad Gita is urging us to view worldly dualities with equanimity. So why is the Bhagavad Gita actually telling us this? Because our emotional attachments for these worldly things, they are binding us. And when our emotions are, threatened towards these worldly things, our consciousness states, reverted to this material level. So to break free, we need to cultivate equanimity towards the things that trigger our emotions. So we know that, for example, okay, let's take an example that somebody is angry on me. But if I am actually calm, then that person might speak for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. He'll calm down and he'll go away, right? Somebody's mic is on and it's disturbing me. Okay, I've just muted. Fine. So we will know that, okay, I just have to keep quiet, and you just break free. And we need to cultivate this, to so that our material emotions don't get triggered, and we are situated into our spiritual. So the more we cultivate equanimity, the more we will see material things without getting overwhelmed by those fantasies of pleasure or the nightmares of misery. Because sometimes we anticipate also, oh, what will happen this, what will happen this. But no, we have to be calm and quiet. We should know that Krishna is in control of my life. I am not in control of my life. And I bow down to his plans. So it will help us actually to focus our consciousness beyond matter. And it will help us to place ourselves at the doorstep to transcendence. So that is why Gita is again urging us to rise from this duality. Of course, this is not a Gita class, it's a Bhagavatam class, but the whole topic, that the whole section is about duality. And that's why even if you see in the Bhagavad Gita, where again, he's saying that Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandera vimukta sukha dukkha samagner gachanti amudha padam avyayam tat. So he's saying that nirmana, without false prestige, moha, illusion, and then saying sanga dosha. So what association you have, uska dosh lagega aapko. That will be the, that association or that fault is of that association. So if we are in bad association, then you need to come out of that bad association. And then he's saying adhyatma, in spiritual knowledge, then nitya, eternity. And anybody who is, who is free from this kama, dvanda, duality, vinukta, then he is a person who is vimukta, liberated from sukha dukkha, happiness and distress. And one who is unbewildered, he will know how to surrender to the Supreme Lord. And he will know how to return back home, back to Godhead. So, that vinivritta, vritta means actually our vritti. When you say vritti, means an inclination. So nivritti means going against our inclinations. Somebody might have an inclination of, seeing some movies, seeing some wrong movies. But then what we have to do, we have to go against that inclination. Somebody is too addicted to, YouTube. So that is, now become my inclination. So you have two paths. You have the pravritti marg and the nivritti marg, which is attachment and detachment. And either with karma kanda and karma sannyas, you can say it is giving up the activity and practicing jnana yoga or engaging in this path of transcendence. So the word nivritti is many times used as retirement. Nivrit ho gaye hum log, they say in Hindi. We have just finished off with our duties. So vinivritti kama, it is actually vinivritti kama means it is referring to detachment from sensual enjoyment. And why vinivritta kama? Because the desire for sensual enjoyment is only binding the soul. So when you say prakriti eto hi bhungte prakriti jnana gunaha. So a person, when he starts watching all these emotions in a movie, started, and then he either cries or either he has fear or either is anger. But if one on a longer watch of this movie, he watches, emotions will not come on him, because if he has that longing to desire to enjoy material things or the material existence, then so many emotions will overwhelm him. So what we have to do is we have to give up our entanglement for this material desire, and we have to become detached. Dvander vimukta sukha dukkha samagner. Samagner. So dvander vimukta means if somebody becomes detached from these dualities, then what will happen? Sukha dukkha samagner. One remains equipoised even in happiness and distress. So, and who can do this? Gachanti amudha padam avyayam tat. Such a person is amudha. Such a person is unbewildered. He's not bewildered. So that person is very much situated and he's not caught up in this material, world or material energy. So many times this material energy, it makes us muda. Muda means, ignorant. But one who is situated in this consciousness is amudha, or that person is padam avyayam tat. That person will always attain eternal destination. Padam. Padam means, destination. Avyayam. So he will attain what? He will attain the abode of Krishna. So this particular, so, and he's saying that what is the nature of that abode? He's saying that the nature of that abode is, it is avyakta akshara iti uktas tam ahu paramam gatim. So that destination, that supreme destination, param gatim, that supreme destination is imperishable. That supreme abode can be attained only when a person surrenders to the Supreme Lord. And Srila Prabhupada, many times is explaining us the surrendering process. So that the first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride, or nirmana he should be. And why nirmana? Because one recognizes that, okay, I'm being kicked by this material nature. Material nature is making me dance like a puppet. I'm thinking that I can do this, but actually, I'm just so fragile. I'm so powerless, but I'm just made to, leave, or I'm just made to toss in these waves of this material nature. So I have to go beyond these waves of material nature. And that happens only when I get anchored that I am beyond the reach of these waves, and that anchor is the Supreme Lord. So we need to be strong enough to admit that we are not strong enough. Many people feel that, okay, being strong means, never admitting any weaknesses. No, we should in front of the Supreme Lord admit our weaknesses. We can put a mask of peacefulness, but until unless some shelter is taken within that mask, we cannot stay for a long. That mask will fall off in the adversity of this world. So for a conditioned soul to admit that, I am very weak is very difficult. But the devotee has self-confidence in that form that they have confidence on Krishna, and because they have taken shelter of Krishna, they are confident. So, to be a tool in the hand of Krishna and to do a certain work is not weakness. So, as long as, I am, as long as one thinks I can do all, one cannot seek help of anyone. What to speak of Krishna's help of, humility is so important. So, here moha means things are mine. I am the proprietor of the things, the attachment that is there. And jitasanga dosha means modes create dualities. Those dualities become false, which bind us in the material existence. But a jitasanga dosha means one is free from that. And, one stays always in spiritual consciousness, and one stays free from vinivritta kamaha, free from lust. And when you say dvande vimukta, one stays free from dvanda. Vimukta, mukta means liberated. He stays free from. So, Krishna, connection is with, Krishna. And Krishna, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says that Ami to tomara, tomi to amara, kiji kanar aparadha ne. I am yours, you are mine. So what other well do I want? So we have to harmonize things in the service of Krishna. A connection with Krishna is, our most important property. And then we become vinivritta kama, completely retired from this material existence. And nivritta is actually to retire. Vinivritta is totally retired, no chance of coming back. So this Vedic culture that is there, it's just doesn't encourage, being in duality. So, it will lead us to the supreme liberation. So I rest my speech over here. If somebody has any doubts, concerns.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for this very, very beautiful class. It was really very overall, fully covered all the points, and we took us to Bhagavad Gita.
Not able to
And
hear you.
thank you, Mataji, for this very, very beautiful class. It was really very thought-provoking and a very clear explanation from the viewpoint of Bhagavad Gita also. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji.
So
And we
I
have
generally take theme based. So what I do is when I read a shloka, I will catch a theme and I will elaborate on that theme. So when in this, if you see in this whole episode of Chitraketu, he's speaking about duality only. Duality of, happiness and distress. And, of course, further, after a couple of shlokas, Lord Shiva will speak to Parvati. And because Chitraketu satisfied Shiva and Parvati, he boarded the airplane and he left. And they smiled because though he did laugh, but he did actually, he did it in the, as if you see in the previous classes also, His Grace Kamalochan Prabhu had said that friends can laugh on each other. So, but he thought that if Mother Parvati is offended, let me just bow down because I am the child of Mother Parvati, and I bow down and I accept, with great humility. And he pleased her completely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very understandable. Yes, Mataji.
I hope it's not gone, completely above, because maybe sometimes some shlokas might just go above. But the toto I can say is that we have to rise beyond these dualities and we have to connect ourselves with the Supreme Lord. That's how we can transcend dualities. Yeah, somebody's hand is up.
Sukaka Krishna Prabhu, you can ask your question.
Yeah, Prabhu, you can ask a question.
Mataji, it was such a wonderful class, Krishna Rupa Mataji. It was so much. See, the Bhagavad Gita, you brought so much. And you showed us how to get out of the duality, to have the higher transcendental reality. And once we are totally into it, automatically the lower case will go off and we will never get attracted by. But in spite of all these things, there are sometimes we get stuck, We have determined, we are doing everything. But maybe the past life or some impact, the mind is storing all those things, and dog mentality. Prabhupada said dog mentality. So the devotees also, I think, have to be very, very careful. It is easy to read, but karne mein bahut mushkil hai, we get stuck up.
Yes,
Because
yes.
what you told, the whole thing, I was trying to see Adi Leela in the Chaitanya Charitamrita 7.81 to 7.94, 14 verses just after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got initiated. He was telling Ishwarpuri that Nachite, I'm just gaite, shuite, I'm just singing, I'm crying, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm becoming pagol. So Ishwarpuri said, that is right. You should just chant and cry. And then Ishwarpuri is telling that, Ishwarpuri is telling that this is because you are so much connected to Krishna. Krishna comes and you see him, then you smile. Then suddenly he goes off, then you cry. And then you run here and there. So this because it's on and off, Vipralamba Bhav is coming. So you don't worry, this will happen. But this we can only read. Apne ko to nahi hota hai. 30 years has happened and still not able to see Krishna or not able to, smiling and all. Chanting is going on. So, I know it cannot be wrong. The scriptures written is right. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord himself. So, इसमें थोड़ा डर लगता है कब होने वाला है. When we are going to laugh and cry and, go here and there running, unmat ho jana, becoming mad. And he said they are not bewildered. The people who drink and become bewildered, they fall. But devotees, they get bewildered, but they know what they're doing. And so your points were really connected to that, to read that stage.
Prabhu, also what I feel is now, because we've spent sufficient enough of time in Krishna consciousness, we need to take three things in a broader term also. Many times what we do is, we fall into some petty things where we don't see a broader, we don't see in a broader sense also. And we just get stuck into those, petty things. And because we are too attached, then, that ego thing comes up. But if we just try, you have a big heart and you try to see in a very broader term, then at least these effects will be minimized. You don't aggravate them. You just, minimize those. It is just like many times for a small verbal thing also we aggravate. But for example, if somebody said something to us and we just keep quiet, we don't aggravate it. He says 2 and then we say 4, and if we just keep quiet, we know, okay, fine, let him say whatever he wants to say, that is his opinion. And you just keep quiet, the things will not pile up or will not increase or aggravate, and we will be more peaceful. So for our peacefulness, to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to have that background. So for example, mere ghar mein klesh hai. I have, a lot of, distress in my house. How is it possible that I read the Srimad Bhagavatam in a peaceful situation? So now for a higher purpose, if I want to read Srimad Bhagavatam, I have to learn to let go. I have to learn to let go things. Then I will be very peaceful in my house, and or in the society or in the community or wherever we are, whether we are working, wherever we are, like. So we have to learn to let go. And this is what I have realized, that when I have learned to let go in a very peaceful situation, I'm able to conduct my classes also. I'm able to study my personal thing. I'm able to rise early in the morning also, chant extra rounds also. Just if I'm tolerating, I'm learning to let go. This is what I have realized over a period of many, of course, it took me also time to realize these things. It was not in the very spur of the moment, but yeah, over a period of years, when we mature as devotees, we also learn to let go many things. And when we learn to let go, there is the divine hand with us. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna in the 13th chapter, the 8th sloka, the first thing he is demanding from us is humility. Where tolerance power reaches 100%, humility starts from there. So when you learn to tolerate, automatically we'll become humble. We don't retaliate. We don't, give back. So that, yes, I agree with you, Prabhu, that And of course, what you're saying is, seeing Krishna and all, it is just a matter of time. You assume that you are already in the spiritual world, but only time is separating you from Krishna.
Yes.
That's
Prabhupada that too.
Yes, yes. It's only time that is separating you from Krishna, right? Yeah. Any more questions?
One more thing, Mataji, in this same context, that when we are, suppose somebody is agitating us, we are just tolerating, hum gussa nahi dikhata hai to, that means we are not making the anger to become live. I just made it to stop.
Yes.
Not
yes.
I mean, the Krishna made me to stop. I am just his servant. So as per the scriptures, I just kept quiet. So automatically, I think, फिर वो हार जाएगा. Actually, the anger is trying to fight, make us to, the mind is making us to shout and get out from the place and all. I think we should not make it to life. Lust, anger, greed, chup chap, sell and just tolerate.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji.
There's a question in the chat box.
Yes,
Mataji, as you
Priyanka.
mentioned, there's a chat box. There's a question in the
Yes.
chat box. I'll just like to take that first. Mataji, as you mentioned, you should not be affected by the different feelings and emotions, but science also says there are some emotions which are connected to hormones. How do we connect this to a Krishna consciousness? And if hormones do affect our emotions, how do we keep that in check? So when you are chanting, all these hormones will also become cool and calm. The hormones will not, create a turmoil in your life. All the dopamine, the thyroid glands, the thyroid hormones, all these hormones, if you see, they start from here. Okay, and if this is in control, then all the hormones that are in line, they all will be controlled automatically by chanting the holy names of the Lord. And that's how we can keep the hormones in check. And of course, by eating Krishna Prasad, which is, a very sattvic diet. Yeah, Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji saying something.
There is one more question in the chat, Mataji. Let me read. By Lalita Mataji and Dinabandhu Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. What a wonderful class, and what an example of being focused in Krishna consciousness. Okay, it's just a comment, Mataji.
Yeah, that's a comment that I just read. So yeah, Prabhu, yes, thank you so much for accepting whatever little I knew with my little knowledge. Thank you for
one hand raise, Mataji. If you have time, we'll take that.
So yes, Mataji. Hemi Mataji.
Hemi Mataji, please. Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam. What a beautiful class. Very, very practical. Mataji, in sort of continuation of the question which was just being discussed, this dualities in workplace. I mean, the tolerance, I understand, but sometimes it is, if we are tolerating, we're not making our point in certain situations when we I mean, in my mind, we should, but how to walk away from, at workplace especially, I find that very challenging. Is there any tips you can give to not get engaged in, any kind of, this duality or, argument, or not argument, but a debate, I would say. I mean, make your point and then walk away without getting agitated.
So let me ask you first question, that how many rounds do you chant and go to the office?
Mataji, I do chant 16 rounds through the day, but I try to chant 8 to 10 before I go.
Yeah. So chant 16 rounds and then move out of the house. What happens is, like, for example, you have a mobile and you just have 50% charged and you move out of the house and the battery drains off. So the 16 rounds that we chant is like a kavach or a shield, a protective shield for us. So whatever anybody will tell us, it will not affect us, or will not be affected by somebody else's duality. So when we chant 16 rounds and move from our house, this is what I have experienced in my IT career. That of course, we did have our, superiors also. And I just asked once, one of my, mentors, he said, chant 16 rounds and move, nothing will happen in life. And from that day to this day, okay, me and my sister, we never move out of the house, before chanting 16 rounds. 16 rounds chanting is a shield for us, where people will not attack us also, and will not be, will not even be disturbed by anybody's, statements, whatever they are making. So try this out and you will see. You will see a drastic change within 1 week of your life. And this is my guarantee to you, Mataji. You might think that, oh, he's telling me something fanatic or something just like that, but try this out. And most of them have tried this out and they've been successful. All, at least we IT people, have been successful after chanting 16 rounds and then only moving out of this. Not even that I'm sitting in my car and chanting. No, when I'm sitting in my car and I'm actually going to my office, then that time I am doing Shravanam. I'm hearing lecture of Srila Prabhupada or of my own spiritual master. But sitting in the house in one place, in one go, chanting 16 rounds. That is the only solution to this particular thing in the office or anywhere outside of your house. Okay, Mataji, we can try it out. And you can message me personally that how things are going on. I can put down my personal number also on this chat. If any of the women have any what do you say, a problem which you all cannot discuss with men, I'm more than happy to assist you all in your Krishna consciousness. You are not able to understand a particular shloka, you are not able to understand a particular class or maybe some clarification. I'm there. Put my Indian number on the chat box.
Thank you, Mataji. That's a great tip. I will try. Thank you. Dandavat pranam.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for this very, very beautiful class. And it was many times we have heard that how the 16 round is our kavacha, but practically you have executed it and you have seen in your life. That gives us more and more hope and confidence. Yes, many times it happens like if the morning chanting is not done, somehow we will dash somewhere. So yes, Mataji, thank you so much. That really helps. That is the only thing, keeping at least not going down. Even if it is not progressing, we are not progressing, we should not go down. So for that, this is the only way. Thank you.
So on what basis also will Krishna protect us? So we need to have some basis. So on that basis, Krishna will definitely protect us.
Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful, wonderful point. If there are no questions, we can end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Koti Vaishnavam ki jai.
Jai.
Rupa Mataji ki jai.
Jai.
Gauranga.
Nityananda.
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 Ananda.
Radhe.
Radhe.